Hi, I'm Andrea Darlas, and I'm here today interviewing some of the cast of Robert Alanis' latest film, Honest to God. Tyler Burke plays Dylan Adams, and he's here with me. Thank you, Tyler, for taking some time out.
Yeah, thank you.
I love your character. Dylan he's a typical teenager. He's a millennial. He's a fun guy. Tell me about your character.
Dylan, I think you hit it right on the head. Dylan is very much I think, very typical what you think when you think of a millennial. There's some stereotypes, and he may not seem like he cares about everything that's should be important that you should care about, but I find that Dylan also, the things Dylan cares about, he cares about very, very deeply. So that's what's kind of interesting about Dylan, is figuring out what he really cares about and what he's actually passionate about versus what everyone thinks should typically be cared about.
And I'm glad you bring up the passion, because Dylan is passionate about television and social media, and you have one of Robert's favorite lines in the entire film.
Yes.
It's not funny.
Yes. No.
Well, you say it much better than I do, but
yeah. So essentially, Dylan's a big fan of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Big fan of Game of Thrones. Takes things like that very seriously.
Right.
People who don't like how Game of Thrones turned out or did turn out, things like that to Dylan matter much more than other things that may be actually a little more serious.
Right. But I think that's why a lot of people, when they see this film, can relate to Dylan, because a lot of people feel that way. It is almost the end of the world when your favorite TV show is gone.
Correct.
Or canceled, or a character dies, so that's what's important to a lot of people.
Correct, and you'll find Dylan cares about a lot of weird things, but to him that is his world.
Yeah.
And that's what he truly cares about. So if that's what he's going to get behind, that's what he's going to get behind. So.
You're very young, but you've had already a wonderful career so far. Tell me a little bit about how you, and I'll let you tell the story, how you reconnected with Robert for this film.
Yeah, so my first speaking role in a movie ever was, I was about 13 or 14, and through drama club, someone told me, oh, there's a movie going on, you should audition for it. And it was a local movie shot by Robert.
Yeah.
And I went and I auditioned. I landed my first speaking role there, and that was about probably 16 years ago or so. We did that movie. I went off to Arizona on the West Coast and kind of lived there for a little bit and came back home. We reconnected on Facebook, and then I auditioned for a few things a couple of times when I saw it, and then when he had this one going, Robert reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in coming in and auditioning again. And I did, and then this one was just a little bit different, though. It felt the character felt right, and as soon as you start reading the audition, you can kind of feel if, all right, I'm kind of connecting with this character or not. And I think me and Dylan got along pretty well. So.
I think so too, and he's a likable character, which can't be said for some of the other characters in the film early on, namely your dad, Burke's character, but Danny. But I think Dylan is a likable character. Did you get that when you were reading for the part too?
And I really wanted to make him a likable character too. I've played a lot of bad guys and things like that in other roles, and it was fun to get a character that is silly and kind of almost annoying in a way over the things he likes, but that's the challenge, is to kind of make him likable.
Right.
You know that he probably will get a couple laughs. And by the end of the movie, you always want someone to feel something about that character and the journey they've gone through. Yeah. So I really wanted Dylan to be likable, and you also to kind of understand him by the end, to realize, like, oh, there's something going on up there.
Absolutely, and he does make a nice transformation too. He goes from this millennial to like a young man, and he really grows, especially in one of the pivotal scenes that involves Benji. He just grows. Did you feel that evolution as an actor?
I think, as an actor, and as just being in the same age range as Dylan, and friends and just personal experiences, you start to have certain things hit you, or certain experiences that you realize are a little different, or now change how you look and approach things. And I think Dylan is such a key age, and at that moment in life where he's trying to figure out a lot of things and what's the next step. And he kind of finds that throughout this whole journey.
You can definitely see it. You got bitten by the acting bug kind of at a young age.
Yes.
You were doing musicals and in first and second and third grades.
First grade, Hearts and Tarts was the first play. Yep, it was a Valentine's
You still have the
Day
playbill?
play. I'm sure my mom
and like
does.
crayon,
I'm sure, I'm sure my mom does.
Oh,
somewhere.
I bet she does, yeah.
Yep, that was my first introduction, and then I kind of got into theater, musical theater, because that's just what's available to a lot of younger kids that they kind of experiment with.
Yeah.
And then I had a small extra role, and then, like I said, Robert is where I kind of got. That's when I had a speaking role, and I discovered that I like film more than theater acting, and so that was
really?
a big, yeah. That
so
was
I was going to ask you, because I know there's some big time differences between the two, but why do you like film a little bit more?
I find film. I really liked the subtlety of film and acting, and that you can act with your eyes. Whereas when you're on stage, everything has to be kind of over dramatic and kind of blown up on certain things.
Right.
And I really like the intimacy of film, and every little thing, sound. You don't have to be projecting your lines for grandma to hear it in the back.
Right.
It's a much more, it feels not more real, but it's a different experience for me that I feel like I can connect with a little bit better. And I also love multiple takes. I like doing things differently. I don't like falling in a rhythm where you kind of do a show 3 times a week.
Right.
You start doing the same thing, it's not as exciting. I like that we can hit it in 2 takes, and then they can go, all right, well, now just do something different because we already got it. So I really like kind of getting to play in that space versus showtime. We got 2 hours, go do what we've rehearsed for a lot of time.
It's almost like more of a freedom, even if you have to do the multiple takes.
There's pluses and negatives with both of it, and I've just felt I'm much more comfortable, and I just enjoy the filmmaking process. I'd rather sit 12 hours on set than 12 hours at rehearsal.
Right, absolutely.
That's just where I've discovered as an actor that I've kind of enjoyed and pursued.
Your career has taken you, as you mentioned, you've been on the West Coast, on the East Coast, kind of all over. And I know you had a role where you were in a situation with Mel Gibson too.
Yes.
Which tell that story. That's kind of a cool story.
Basically, I landed a role in the new Mark Wahlberg movie, and so I had a scene with him called Stu, and that was very surreal, just to kind of get thrown into meeting someone you see on TV, and now it's like, oh, we're gonna work with them, action, let's go. And so it was really fun and scary, and also a moment to kind of prove to myself of like, all right, this is what the next level in the professionalism, and this is a guy who is one of the highest paid actors, and then we did the scene, is a very short scene, but it was really cool. And then the next day I was on set just in case they needed to get pickups and stuff.
Sure.
And overwalked Mel Gibson. And that was another surreal thing, because that's like, that's someone I grew up with as a kid, of like my dad watching his movies and things like that. So to me, that's like it's like one of my dad's idols. That's a big moment.
That you're able to work with,
And it was another thing where all of a sudden he's just standing there, and it's like, all right, you just gotta
go with the flow.
Tyler. You can't start freaking out or anything like that. And really, really cool dude. Really cool dude. Funny, talked westerns and stuff like that. A little shorter than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
You're towering over. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a bit taller than your average actor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's.
I love the fact that your career has taken you all over the country and all over the world, and you're so accomplished at such a young age too. So The Vision was your first speaking film. So you came back. You're working with Robert now on Honest to God. What is he like as a director?
I think Robert, as a director, gives really, really good specific direction, and that is something that's not. You don't come across that very often. You have people who have a specific vision, but they don't really know how to convey it to you. Whereas Robert, I feel like, is very clear at conveying his vision, but also asking you how you feel to kind of meet in the middle and figure out how to maximize that vision to its full potential.
Right.
Whereas a lot of directors, you go in and it's either their way or the highway, or it's the other way where you're the actor, you've read this, what do you think? Go with it, cool.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to have a little bit of balance in that, at least for me, I feel, to kind of be able to please both parties and also get the most out of it, because once you start getting different opinions on characters and situations, there's always something to learn and possibly grow from that.
Absolutely.
So I think Robert gives that opportunity a lot, and that's what's interesting coming back in this, because I remember having a lot of fun and everything when I was younger on the film set, but it was my first one. I was nervous, so I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
This time, having done so many other things coming back, I was curious to see how it's going to work, because I don't remember from 16 years ago really how it was when I was a kid that didn't know really how to act either.
Yeah.
And that's what was very surprising to me, was I thoroughly enjoyed working with Robert on like a professional level, not just this guy
as a
giving me
kid,
chance.
right?
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
That's what was apparent to me as a professional. I was like, oh wow, this is why he's good at what he does.
A lot of your castmates said the exact same thing, and Polly and Brooke said, but they also got the creative kind of freedom to kind of be their character and to put, to put yourself in it as well.
Yep.
So it's kind of a nice mesh, a nice meeting of the minds.
Yep. It's always nice when you have some guidelines, but you also have some freedom. So you can kind of figure out where you want to play within that space.
Absolutely. What do you want people, when they see this film, to walk away with?
I think from this film, especially, I am biased. I'm thinking of Dylan a lot too. I think a lot about Dylan and the character I played in it. I think the film teaches you that sometimes things can go bad in life, or you can have negative things be told to you, or you're thinking things are going to happen, but it's really a way to look at the other side of the coin and kind of deal with that in a healthy way. And I think no matter what the character is, everybody goes through their own little journey, some a little bit more intense than others, but they all kind of have to deal with something and then grow from it, move on, and continue kind of on. And I think that's a pretty good message to have, especially in like today's age. And
I think so too, and I think Dylan, at the heart of it, the Addams family, they're a core group. You have a solid mom and dad, and your sister, and I told Brooke this too. I love, you have that little sibling rivalry, but you are united, whether it's defending your TV shows or whatever it would be. So I mean, there is kind of that common core of family.
No, absolutely. I'd say the whole Addams family as a full is I think it's a very relatable family of being a family who's very close and with each other, but also have a ton of differences and don't agree on a lot of things that they kind of talk about. But at the end of the day, when things really matter, they can all come together and actually be a family.
Right. Like you could disagree about certain things, but then kind of learn from it and then grow together as a unit, as a family unit.
Correct.
Very cool. All right. Final question for you.
Okay.
You have 3 weeks to live. You find this out. What do you do?
Tyler,
not Dylan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know, as cliche as it sounds, I think I'd really like to spend time with friends and family. I think I would like to take my buddies and families on a trip somewhere. If I'm dying in 3 weeks anyways, and I can rack up the bills and everything, I think I would like to do one solid, all right, this one's on him, cool, thanks Tyler, and then and then whatever happens. But I think it would be cool to kind of give everyone a good family kind of trip or friend trip to kind of celebrate, just being together and having a good time.
That's awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you, Tyler. I know you've had a wonderful career, and I know you have a huge long career ahead of you. Remember the little people, at the Oscars, and give us an ear tug or whatnot when you get there. But Tyler Burke, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.